Hello and welcome to Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. I'm your host, Ed Charbeneau, and with me is my co-host, John Bristowe. How are you doing today, John?
Very well. How are you?
I'm doing good. We're getting into that time of year where it's holiday season and there's .NET Conf and things are happening all the time. And it's been a while since we've had a stream, and we may have a break from streaming once or twice here in December as well, as the holidays start to kick back off again. So it's we're gonna have one of the obligatory like best of the year type shows, or the
Sure.
what's hot in 2024 type shows. But until we get there, we've got some good news links for you this week. PowerShell 7.4 general availability.
PowerShell continues to continue, I guess. So
it looks like this was stuff that dropped around the .NET 8 release.
Yeah, so .NET 8 is now out. This was announced at .NET Conf, and so I think it's great that the PowerShell team jumped on top of this. I mean, most of us, to be honest, had enough forewarning of .NET 8 being available. But this is built on .NET 8, which is great. It's part of their LTS, or long-term support. This is I guess a minor update, but you've got a couple of new updates for get and readline, etc. A bunch of other performance improvements, etc. I know that this is definitely a stalwart for most Windows admins and ops people. So anytime I see something like this, I'm always super excited. It's great to see. We use PowerShell quite a bit at Octopus, and it is one of the sort of standard sort of shell experiences that you can use for doing deployments.
Yeah, PowerShell does so much, and I've seen people that know how to use PowerShell, and they can. I mean,
dangerous people.
It can run like IL code and all kinds of crazy stuff. Like it's really just advanced. But my usage of it is very basic, and it's like saying that I use npm, but like most of the time when I'm using npm, I'm typing npm install and npm build, and that's about the two things that I do with it.
Sure.
So it's about the same thing with PowerShell. It's like I use PowerShell, but mostly to make sure that I have like my Git path and stuff, corrected in the little UI that it has, or in the shell that it has. That's about my knowledge of it all.
And, well, there's no excuse now. It's multi-plat. It's super performant. It's super awesome. No excuses. Definitely jump on the bandwagon. Come on, get into the scripting bandwagon there. Make your life easier.
No support for .NET Core? Sure about that?
Where are you reading that?
In chat here.
Oh, well, so there's PowerShell Core. So there's, you're talking about ISC, which is that's the environment.
Oh, okay.
So PowerShell ISC is the editor environment. So yes, I don't know what the long-term prospects are around ISC. ISC is a great editor for basically editing PowerShell scripts. Unfortunately, it's one of those things. I wish they would integrate it more deeply. I think the writing's on the wall there. I think most people are going to be gravitating towards VS Code.
Interesting. I just don't know that much about PowerShell. Like I said, I've got the little script that I run here. I'll pull my PowerShell up. You can see it.
There you go.
If I navigate, I can't remember what the name of this thing is. Yeah. What's the name of this thing that I'm even using?
What are you talking about?
So if I go to any of my, let's see if any of these eShop.
You have tab completion. There you go. Yeah.
There. So like I've got this little Git thing that I put on all of my PowerShells. What is this thing called?
It's called there's a shell extension. I'm trying to remember the name. It's been a while. I haven't ran Windows in a few years, but I had this installed as well. There's any number of these, and what it will do is if it detects a .git ignore or something equivalent, that it knows that it can detect that it's a a Git folder, it will basically do a Git status and then display that inline.
Yeah. So
These and
I
other shell
install this
extensions
like
are available everywhere.
whenever I pave my machine, I install that. And that's like
Yep.
my advanced knowledge of PowerShell. Like it ends there.
Where you,
I have it
yeah,
in
so like
like a
yeah, a
folder.
lot of people will do this. They'll have their dot files set up for Mac on their Git repos. A lot of folks will use the same sort of setup for Chocolatey and the like for Windows. Linux has this as well. So provisioning your environment so that when you tear it all down and basically bring it all back up, you can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Like basically, I have a folder on my OneDrive that has some or
Yep.
not PowerShell, but Chocolatey like
Yep.
scripts in it. And whenever I get a new machine, I just log into my OneDrive, pull those scripts out, run them, and then I get my fancy Git thing back and a bunch of apps that I use.
Nice.
And it just makes life a whole lot easier. But I can't remember for the life of me what that thing's called now, because I like you said, I don't touch it. I touch Chocolatey, and then I run the thing, and I get it for free because it's just scripted now. So that's my endeavors into like DevOps
because
right there.
you tickled my brain here. Oh my posh. Sorry, I just remembered.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yep.
Posh Git. That's what I use.
Yes.
Yeah. So grab the new PowerShell, grab Posh Git.
Yeah.
Get your
well, you can install
off.
it via. You can install it very quickly. So you can do either if you're on Linux or Mac, you can do if you're on Mac, you can do a brew update. On Linux, you can do apt-get. On Windows, do a Chocolatey command. So there's any number of ways. There's no excuses to keep it updated. So
yeah. Announcing .NET. Is this Chiseled Containers?
Yep.
Chiseled Containers.
Just like my body, how chiseled it is, right? So
yes, at 45, that's where I'm headed as well.
Sorry, I didn't mean to give people a bad visual. So this is a post by Richard Lander. I've known Richard for a while. He's a great Canadian boy. So there you go. He's at Microsoft and he's been doing a lot of work in this space. So .NET Chiseled Containers were announced, I think, last year. So they're not a new thing, but they've been working with a partner called Canonical. And what this is basically a very streamlined, stripped down, bare bones, right on the metal container image that you can use. And so the reason why this is relevant is because, if you use containers can get quite beefy, especially when you have dev dependencies. And so there's now these Chiseled Containers, but are for specific workloads that are .NET oriented. And so there's commands now built into the .NET CLI that you can use for generating these. You no longer need to use a Docker command to generate these things. They're built into .NET as well. So they're showing the equivalent commands here for Docker, but they're now built into the .NET CLI. So there's a publish command now in the .NET CLI that allows you to emit image containers. And so now that's now available. So this is showing the integration within Docker Hub. So that's where these things ultimately get published and propagated. There's a variety of repositories for this. But basically, they've taken they've streamlined essentially the runtime dependent containers used for .NET workloads. And so Chiseled Containers are great because they limit your risk. So if you have a lot of dependencies built into a container image, it can be justified that those dependencies are there for you to exploit potentially. Your download time, because typically what happens with containers is you'll download dynamically, spin up a pod, and push an image process relative to that. So by reducing the size of these things, you also get potentially better performance, startup performance as well. You don't have to do all these things, relative to that. So yeah, good stuff. You can see some charts and graphs in this. Yeah.
All absolute Greek to me.
But you know what's going to happen.
But
it basically means your containers are getting smaller. Your containers are getting much, much smaller.
That's good. It's like kind of like tree shaking for containers, basically.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, if you want to use that analogy, that would be somewhat accurate. Yes.
FuelSnabble asked actually a really good question. We actually can take a minute to sidebar on this as well. So have you heard about .NET Aspire, John?
Yes. Yes.
That
This
was something.
was announced last month.
Yeah, this was part of that big .NET 8 release, and basically, for Fuel Snapple here, what .NET Aspire is, it's for all intents and purposes, it's kind of like a framework that is for building microservice and micro front-end architecture with .NET.
Yeah.
And it works with like an orchestrator pattern. So I was trying to open up like
This
what is
reminds me a lot of the
Aspire?
patterns and practices work that you saw back in the day. And there's all these sort of like templates that you can use for generating these architectures.
Yeah,
That's the first thing that came to mind when I was looking at this.
and it's very early in the life cycle for this, so there's not a lot of things that it orchestrates yet, but I can see where this is going to expand. And this will be like a really nice tool in probably a couple of releases here, as most things in the .NET world are. But like for example, you can come in to like Visual Studio now, and I think you have to be in preview, folks, to get this to work. So make sure you're in Visual Studio preview,
This is
and
the
then
classic file new enterprise. So
yeah, it really is. Let's do. I don't want to right now. Continue without
it's
code.
basically it's basically a cloud based aspect of that sort of idea, which is, go from zero to hero with a template, and then it basically stubs out everything that you need.
Now, let me make sure I even have this up and running on here. So if you want this to work, you actually need to go into Visual Studio Preview, hit Modify.
Hmm.
That's how
And add the
preview
components there.
early
Yep.
build of this bits are, and then I think it's under ASP.NET, and then you have to go under additional components. Here it is. Nope, individual components. There we go. And
Yeah.
then you'll see .NET Aspire SDK in there.
Yeah.
So
Just check them all.
yeah.
Kill your machine.
So you have to have that on your machine for this to work. So in .NET, in Visual Studio 2022 preview, you have to go into individual components and click that checkbox,
Yeah.
and then hit modify. And once you have that, you can do file, new project, and then you'll see Aspire pop up in here. And a very, very slow search it will do. And I'm not seeing it for some reason.
Imagine, if you will,
Yeah.
amazing things showing up on Ed's screen.
And I don't know why it's missing from the
Okay,
list
don't worry
at
about
the
it,
moment.
dude.
But once you have that, you can hit new project, and it'll actually spin up like a wizard, and it'll like say, what do you want to build? Do you want, let's see if it'll show it on this screen.
We
Yeah,
keep
it'll show
rehashing
these
Clippy over and over again. This is what all it is.
yeah,
Looks
it'll
like you're
show you
building an
these
enterprise application.
available components, and then like you could say, I want a Blazor application with a web API backend and Redis caching and blah blah blah. You check the boxes, you hit go, and it sets up all of the containers and things that are needed to run all of the bits that you've selected. And then it uses this orchestrator pattern to like tie them all together instead of
Okay.
having a bunch of like magic strings that, you're shuffling like IP addresses between all the microservices and trying to figure out what those should be. It does all that for you. And then it gives you a dashboard.
It's good until something breaks, and then you're in a world of hurt. That's been my experience with these sort of frameworks. So
Okay, Debbie Downer. No, you're 100% correct. You are. You're 100% correct. But
Yeah.
that's Aspire in a nutshell. So it's this orchestration pattern, and then kind of a nice GUI they slap on top of it, where you can navigate between your different micro components of your architecture there. So you have like all the IP addresses listed out in a grid, basically, and it says this is your front end, this is your web API server, this is your identity server, this is your caching server, and you can just visit all of those through the dashboard, see their status, their logs, all of that. So that's Aspire. That's what that does.
Nice.
That's the the easy summary of it, the TLDR summary of it. All right, JetBrains, state of developer ecosystem. That's a pretty big ecosystem to bite off of and write a summary of.
I know.
It's the state
Well, this
of...
is the trend these days, right? So
Yeah.
everyone's writing a state of report, and JetBrains is no different. I do appreciate the fact that they're doing this. So they surveyed about 26,000 developers that utilize their tools. JetBrains has a huge swath of tools for any number of languages. There's a language, they've got an ID for it. I mean, they just announced an ID for Rust. So yeah, they polled their audience, and they've been doing this for a few years now, actually. So the state of developer ecosystem is just yet another sort of report that kind of highlights. It's linked at the top there in the first paragraph. It's basically one of those reports that everyone sees. It's like, who are you? What do you do? So this one's kind of hard to navigate. At the top, there's a highlights, but at the top you'll see. Just for folks to see, at the very top there's a drop down list, and nope. Very top. Keep going. There you go. See that little hidden drop down list?
That's
I know. Yeah, so those are the various parts of the report. So you don't need to click on that. You can just scroll past this. But I just wanted to show.
I think it's the same thing that's right here. Is it not?
Yeah, so it does jump in. Oh no, that's the typical sort of like, that's the banner breakout of all the reports and stuff. Yes. So yeah, they added some new components to the report. They talk about AI, they talk about a bunch of things, but basically it's like any other state of report you've seen. So, generally speaking, it kind of aligns with everyone's sort of expectations. Like, software development is fun, software development is cool, people are successful, sort of thing. This is no different than what you'd see with the Octoverse GitHub report and the Stack Overflow survey and the state of JavaScript and the state of CSS and all these other reports. So
these are the top earners these days, eh? Scala, Go, Kotlin, C# way down here. Come on.
Yeah, you have to remember that JetBrains does do a lot of tools they invented Kotlin, right? So they've got tools for that. They've got tools for Go. They've got tools for Scala. They've got, so the JetBrains is very much invested in the Java ecosystem. And so that aligns well to that sort of audience. So when you poll this audience, you're going to get some of the top people in those language sets.
It says in their country or region as well. So that could vary greatly from region to region. So I wonder how they normalize that.
Yep.
So like, for example, somebody doing C# in, somewhere on the other side of the world is not going to make the same amount of money as somebody in the US. And does that mean, like, are there a lot of Scala developers maybe in the US and not other places?
Ooh.
Like, that's a really weird, like, way to quantify this chart. So I don't know how to break that down mentally. Like,
whatever, don't worry about it. I mean, there's tons of charts in this report, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But there's the new interesting stuff is the AI stuff that they talk a little bit about. Of course, it's like everyone else. It's like useful, looking into it, keen on it, Copilot, hooray, things like that. So
people are very familiar with text generation tools.
Yes.
Code generation tools and image generation.
I'm having a lot of fun with the image generation tools. There's a recent trend on the various social networks where they start off with an image and they say, for 10 likes, I'll make the person happier or more, so to give you an example, like let's say Ed used ChatGPT to generate an image of a developer working with Telerik tools. And for every 10 likes, I'll make him more awesome and happier. And then it basically morphs into this crazy world of these images that are generated by ChatGPT and other LLMs. So
nice. We'll have to actually maybe play with that sometime.
Yeah. It's fun.
Let's see. What stops you from learning about AI generation tools? Company security. That's a big one. I know that's something that we've been talking about internally, is how does this affect us? See no value in them? That's rubbish. That's
people who just are they're grizzled veterans and they're too set in their ways, I think.
Says the guy that won't give VR and AR.
Yeah, there's a good reason for that. I don't want to have my sweat helmet on my face, This is not me, Ed. I'm using AI tools. Thank you very much. I am not there. Stop doing this. I
I've
like
had enough of
AI.
my
I like it.
microaggressions today.
Dude,
Let's
we
see.
started talking chat. We were one of the first shows to talk about ChatGPT. You can
I
look back.
know.
We started talking about ChatGPT back in November of last year before it actually hit the world. And so you and I were already on this big time for all these so-called AI experts with 10 years of AI expertise on their resume.
There was a discussion last week in the office here. Actually, it was this week, Tuesday, I think. We had a meeting. We were talking about how to do some sort of post about AI, and I just went into ChatGPT and like literally
Yeah,
prompted it with
generate
the
a post.
question
Yes.
of the
Yes.
same title as the meeting, and I was like, here you go. Like this is
Yeah,
we're done here.
prompt engineering is the new whatever, so a lot of people are putting prompt engineer as their title now. So
It was very meta. It was very hilarious,
sure.
and it really did just kind of answer the question. But anyway, what type of generative AI are you using? Cloud-based, local, offline solutions? That's got to
Yeah,
be
so there
hardcore
are
people
solutions.
there.
Yeah, there are solutions for people who want to do that sort of thing. So a lot of people are
Hmm.
using it for image generation. It really depends on, but I think the vast majority of people are using cloud-based AI tools for sure.
Do they simver in prompt APIs? I have no idea. I couldn't tell you.
Sure.
Let's
Prompt
just
engineering. Prompt engineering is more about is basically making the LLM do what you want. So
yeah. Somebody after that meeting, they're like, you're helping AI take your job. I said, you know what? I'm just a prompt engineer now, so
that's
I'm
right.
good. I'm good with that. Let's see. A lot of people use ChatGPT. A lot of people probably use these indirectly without knowing it. Visual Studio and Telecode, GitHub Copilot, Midjourney. I've tried Midjourney. I just could not get it to do what I wanted it to do.
It's weird. Yeah, it's a bit weird.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I think we used it for a post that we just did on Twitter today. I could show you. Like, we need to have a segment maybe. Did AI generate this? Like,
Oh, just
did
go to
AI
ChatGPT.
generate?
It will generate images and stuff. It's fun.
No, but
So there you go.
I want to. I can identify these things. Let's see. I think I retweeted this. I can see these things because. Tell me, do you think this was AI generated?
What? Oh, that?
This
Yes.
image? Yes.
Yes.
What makes you say that?
Well, the common tell is the words. Sometimes they're horribly
Yes.
misspelled.
Like what is this?
December.
What is that?
Yeah.
The letters, it does weird stuff with the fonts
Spelling,
and
the order of
yeah.
numbers, like it speculates a lot. Not that it
Yeah.
speculates, but
Oh,
it
that
looks like
seemed
it's
weird.
speculating basically.
Yeah. So I saw that when we posted it today. I was like, I think we used AI to generate that.
Yeah.
So this back to the state of the ecosystem. Other than AI, is there anything in here, John, that struck your senses?
Well, these folks are obviously because they're in the JetBrains folks. The IDs and languages always speak to me because these guys have an ID for every language on the planet. I mean, let's be honest here; these guys are trying to basically own the developer space, which is awesome. I'm a huge fan of JetBrains. Don't get me wrong. So I'm always
Yeah,
keen on
they
seeing
make
that.
some
But
good stuff.
yes, they do. Yeah, we have a lot of folks here at Octopus that use Rider, and they from their cold, dark, dead hands is the refrain I've been told many times. So.
As a C# developer, I was curious. What do you use regularly? C# 11. Didn't it just come out? Like
12,
C#
12 just
11? 12
12.
just came out. Okay.
Yes.
Let's see here. actually don't even really pay attention to this much anymore. It's like
No
whatever
one
is
does. I
shipping
mean,
with
yeah,
the
sure.
when I go to type something in, it's all red squiggles, and I know that is like a keyword or something that's legit. I'm like,
Right.
okay, do I need to update this
You know,
project? Because
what's the worst feeling in the world though is when you're a consultant, you go on site and you have to use like .NET 2 or something, and then you start using all these language constructs, and like you're like, oh no, they're not available. So
I want to thank JetBrains for putting HTML and CSS in
yeah,
the category of
perfect,
languages.
perfect.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. What language do you use with your .NET project? Like, is there anything but C#?
It's the old joke, right?
I mean,
computer science isn't a science. Any science that has the word science in it is just trying so hard to prove itself. The same thing with HTML. Any language that has the word language in it is proving too hard to try and assert itself. So
I don't see how these fit. Like, if you're in a .NET project, that's not really running in the scope of .NET, is it? It's not executing .NET runtime code.
Look, those angle brackets won't.
It might exist
themselves
in the project, but it's not really part of the project. I guess neither is HTML and CSS, but I digress. All right, let's see what runtimes .NET 7 like these. Well, I mean they're what do you call it? Support scopes start running out. So this one is kind of a little bit of a moot point unless you're looking at the last two. Let's see, what else do we have here? Which frameworks to use? ASP.NET Core, Blazor Server, Blazor WebAssembly. I'm surprised to see that so low on the list, to be honest. MVC is way up there still.
Yes, I know.
That's scary. Like,
dude, you have people still using framework and mono and stuff. Come on.
Web forms missing from the list. I don't know. I mean, it's not scary. It's a good solution. It does its job, but there's so much more easier to use things around these days. Blazor being one of the big ones. F# development. It's a very cool list of things.
Yeah, it's very comprehensive. This report is very comprehensive. So.
All right, let's move on, John.
Yes.
Jack? Is that my
pronouncing
that?
Jacques. Yes.
JSON processing tool.
I'm a huge fan of JQ. So JQ is my go-to if I'm parsing JSON on the command line. If you haven't used it, it's definitely something you should check out. And Jacques is a strong alternative built in Rust and has performance basically part of the core, compliance as well. But if you're looking to do any sort of parsing of service return types, etc., particularly in JSON, etc., and you want to parse those things out, this is a good alternative, a strong alternative. So, but if you haven't used JQ, start with JQ. JQ. The reason why a lot of folks are looking for alternatives is because up until recently, JQ was like kind of stale, like it hadn't had an update for like 5 years. But now Jacques is like, trying to give a run for its money, and because it's built in Rust, I think a lot of folks are. I'm reading the comments here. I think a lot of folks are interested in finding something else. So I'm a huge fan of command line tools. I mean, it's similar to the sense of using PowerShell. If you can pipe these together, you can start doing some pretty powerful things.
I really want to write a CSS HTML framework wrapped around this just so I can call it Jockstrap.
Jesus. All right.
No? Come on.
It's a family show. It used to be a family show.
Come on. Like Bootstrap.
Oh, whatever.
I'm here all week, folks. Let's see. What's up next?
Oh, yeah, this demo. I saw this on Twitter. This blew my mind. This is awesome. Watch. She's got 2 windows, and they're talking to each other. This is awesome. Watch this.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that cool? Yeah. Yeah, this was awesome.
Whoa. Okay, I didn't expect that.
Yeah. This was a very cool demo.
And what like system is this? Like, is this just some JavaScript? Is it?
I haven't read. It's clearly JavaScript and CSS, but my guess is that they're using a combination of web workers and what else are they using? Someone described what it is. I can't remember what it is.
What is fxhash? Is that the name of... here we go. An AI art platform. So it's something to do with AI that's doing this. Interesting.
Very interesting. I just thought the demo was cool. Window to window communication. yeah, via gRPC or some equivalent there with web workers in the background, etc. They're clearly doing
Yeah.
this via maybe WebSockets of some kind, gRPC, whatever, to share data, and then the drawing itself is a different sort of beast altogether. But I
There's
thought
got to
this
be
was
some
cool.
kind of like WebGL thing going on in there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I just
Interesting.
thought it was neat.
That is
Yes,
neat. I like it. I don't understand any of how it works, but
this one's related. Brickception.
Brickception.
Yeah. So this one I liked a lot. This one is basically the command. This is the bricks game. Yeah, you gotta with the other window. So there you go. So now you can. This is sort of like Office Space, you know. Hey Milton, what's happening? And you're
How do
just there
you?
playing bricks.
How do you oh, okay.
No, you lost it. Ah, you're gonna die. There you go.
So the second window is
Yes,
controlling
is the
itself as
paddle.
well.
Is the paddle. Yes. And there's a window within a window there as well. So it's very meta.
Right.
No, you
It's
lost.
very clever. It's very
Yes.
clever. I like it.
Yep.
Yet you won't try VR games.
Yes. That's true.
The weirdest bug I've seen yet.
Yeah. So this is from the engineering team over at Gusto or Gusto, depending on your definition. They do payroll solutions. That's beside the fact. I was just interested in how they found this bug. So long story short, they found an issue with their web interface where it would blow up, basically. This is the classic sort of Chrome can't handle the truth and just blows up. Long story short, it was related to a GIF that would be loaded in Grammarly. Grammarly is a spell checker type, prose tool, and you can
Yeah.
install it as a Chrome extension. And when they loaded a dropdown with a GIF embedded in it, that's what caused the problem. So this was one of those crazy sort of engineering blog posts where I was like, wow, talk about tenacity. Like these folks really kind of just stuck with it
Wow.
and then eventually found the problem as to what was causing the issue. So good.
You
First
know,
of all, good on them for finding the problem. Second of all, very weird and esoteric sort of behavior related to a browser. They did say here that they didn't have the source code available to debug for Chrome, and that's not super true. Like Chromium, etc., is available publicly, but I think Chrome source code obviously is where the issue lie
yeah.
because it was related to the extension itself. So.
Yeah, I've mentioned this on the show a long time ago, but when I was working at my old job, I was in charge of like this ERP system installation, and like I went like without any kind of updates or installs on the system for like 6 months, and then all of a sudden, just one day it crashes. The entire company goes down for like 2 days while we're troubleshooting, and it's me and IT basically arguing back and forth that like the Spider-Man like meme, like you did it, like you did it, pointing fingers at each other. And come to find out, they had a firewall update that blocked an image file called spacer.gif, and it was literally like a one pixel by one pixel GIF image that was just there to like put spaces in between grid row columns on some view that the ERP system had. And when it didn't get that file, the whole thing went to its knees. So I've seen ridiculous stuff like this, and it's insane to try to troubleshoot. And we ended up getting something like Fiddler, I don't remember, but seeing this 404 coming across with spacer.gif, and I was like, I gotcha. I finally gotcha. Like 2 days of an entire company being inoperable because of
this one was particularly nefarious
bug.
because this one was particularly nefarious because they had to track it down to a Chrome extension, and then even weirder, it was related to a GIF loading in the Chrome extension, which I'm like, all right. So
stop using GIFs in your critical software.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm.
That's what I'm saying. I'm twisting the story.
Yeah.
Speaking of storybooks, Storybook. Nice. That's like the UI frameworky visualization tool, right?
Yeah. So if you're a web dev and you're not using Storybook, why are you not using Storybook? I mean, seriously, Storybook is fantastic, especially if you're working with a component library. So if you're building out a set of components for your web interface to use across your organization, if you're a control vendor, hint, hint, and you are looking to document these controls, Storybook's a great, great way to do this. And so Storybook 7.6 is out, and lots of more integrations, integration with Svelte kits, better integrations with producing docs via React, other features there. So definitely worth mentioning. The whole point of this is basically to mention Storybook itself. When I was at Telerik, I published a Storybook for Kendo UI.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. So if you're not using this, use it. It's going to save you a lot of time and energy.
Nice. I know we're doing a lot with Figma lately. Like we have we have like this whole Figma import to Telerik theme builder. All that's really cool. So I don't know if it takes the place of the need for Storybook or not to have all those things together.
Storybook is an environment within which you can have your control. It's sort of like an IDP, an internal developer platform, in the sense that it's a platform for hosting your controls, and you can turn knobs and switches on or off, and you can see how the component reacts, and then it can also generate docs, etc. So it's kind of like Backstage from Shopify, not Shopify, by Spotify. Spotify has this solution called Backstage. It's sort of like that, but for web dev. It's kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. So if you want to see how your components operate in isolation, this is a great tool for doing that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of progress and stuff we're working on, we have a
easy on the segues.
We have a webinar coming up in just a couple weeks, December 13th. We're going to kind of recap a lot of the stuff that happened in .NET 8. One of those things, Fuel Snable, Aspire. We'll talk about that very briefly. I'll give you another TLDR version of it with at least a live demo. I got to figure out why that didn't run, but yeah, we'll be talking about that stuff. Blazor and its new static, amazing, like multi-isomorphic rendering system that it has. Really cool stuff there. Streaming rendering, there's this guy that I know that has like Blazor running in his Oculus Quest now, all kinds of crazy stuff. So make sure you tune in to that, and Sam Basu and I will be talking about all things .NET. So just jump over to telerik.com/webinars and click on the Discover the Magic of .NET 8 and Beyond.
That's right.
Register. It's completely free. And we'll give you our opinions of .NET 8 and all the things that are coming in the near future. You know me, John. I like all this AR, VR stuff.
All right, here we go. God.
This is super cool. I thought this was awesome. I'm not a sports ball person, but this is neat. So this is something, I guess, that is a little bit of like a mashup of augmented reality and AI with, I guess they have something in the arena, or it's maybe analyzing television footage. I'm not sure, but it's displaying it as a like game board almost, where you can follow and track like the plays in real time, like right in front of you on a tabletop.
Okay.
And I think that is just cool as hell. Like that is just really neat, the way that they've got this all to work. Like it gives you different.
There's going to be no reason to go to the stadium anymore after a while, right? I mean, if you can get views like this, why bother going to a live event?
It's different still. Live events, like there's a little bit of that crowd mentality. You got like the noise, you can feel the energy in the stadium type of thing. But somebody did mention that in the thread. They're like, nobody's going to need tickets for the games anymore.
That's right.
It's like, try selling tickets now or something. It was in there. But this is really cool. And they're like, we can do this for all sports. Hockey, soccer, NFL, NBA, basketball, baseball, you name it. We can do this. I think it's really neat. Of course, you need some sort of VR headset or, AR goggles or whatever to do it.
Don't use Meta because they have legs there. So sorry, I had to say it.
You actually have legs in the Quest now.
I know it's a joke.
Old school.
It's
old. It's like centering divs in CSS. Like we can do that now.
That's
It's
right.
super easy. Speaking of Quest and things that you can do on Quest, this just came out today. This is a big deal for gamers like myself. Valve launched, they finally saw the writing on the wall. There's been a free tool to do this for a long time. Or not a free tool, sorry, a paid tool, but it's only like $20 in the grand scheme of things. When you bought like a $600 VR headset and a $4,000 gaming rig, $20 is essentially free at that point. But there is an app called Virtual Desktop, which is still super useful, even if you decide to go grab the official Steam app that just came out. But they decided, hey, that people are doing this anyway, we might as well support it officially. So
what is launched, it? I'm still not clear. What is this thing?
Steam is a gaming catalog, like online library.
Is, but...
Okay, just for folks that may not know.
Oh, okay.
And it's like Xbox Live subscription, anything like that, where you've got a gaming service that you either buy or subscribe to games through. And everybody's got their own these days, just like TV channels like Netflix, Hulu. The gaming world has Xbox, Steam, Epic. Any major game publisher has their own platform. Well, there's tons and tons of VR games on Steam, which is owned by Valve Software. And they themselves have a major, like probably the best VR title out there. And they tried to get into the headset business, and they launched a very expensive VR headset. And then, here comes Meta undercutting them and bringing in things like the Quest and Quest 3. People want to play those games, but they're doing it through the Quest hardware, not the Valve hardware.
Gotcha.
So they were kind of not super in favor of it because they wanted to sell their own hardware, but in reality, they're making more money off the games than they are the hardware anyway. So they finally just said, hey, here's the app. Go ahead and just launch the titles right in your headset. What's nice is these things, you can use them wirelessly. So you can have a very expensive VR gaming rig that can do all of the, high detailed graphics and everything, and just stream it directly to your headset and not be tethered down with a bunch of cables. And now you have an official app by Valve to play Steam-based games on your Quest headset, which is really great to finally have. And I have not tried it out yet because I literally saw this right before the show, so I haven't had a chance to install it yet. Right now I use Virtual Desktop, and again, it's a great app whether you're doing gaming or not. Virtual Desktop is just very useful. It is what it says it is. It's a virtual desktop system, so you can RDP into your PC through your headset and work. Use it as a virtual monitor, just remote in. These things are actually really helpful if you're doing any kind of development on the Quest itself. I have no more than 3 apps, I think, that I use for doing this. I have Virtual Desktop. There's a remote display app from Meta. There's one called Immersed that's really good that lets you do like an infinite number of virtual screens. It does some like interesting stuff that I'm not sure if I'm a fan of, John, but I know you're definitely going to be a fan of this one. So like it's got a virtual co-working space in it. So if you have people that you want to hang out with while you're working and kind of like sit in like a virtual cafe and you have your monitors up and you're doing your work and you can shout over, hey John, and it'll sound like I'm like in the room with you. You can even see my goofy little avatar or whatnot.
Nothing creepier than just sitting in a cafe and being like this. Yeah, it's like, please sir, please leave the Starbucks.
You're not in a real cafe. You're in a virtual cafe. So
God, all right, just stop. All right, just go to the cafe.
go touch grass, right? So yeah, see, we've got solo mode, we've got remote collaboration mode. See if we could see here. There's nothing creepy about this at all. Like, see, you'd be back there, John, in the back. So use up to 5 screens.
I can see the world now. Amazing. Let me play the drums.
That is not a thing I want to. Okay, there's one of the rooms there. So you've
no
got
legs.
people co-working, yet you have your PCs. So yeah, they don't have legs in this one for some reason. So yeah, you've got everybody working at their homes, but they're still able to work in the same space. This is actually a problem we were trying to solve during COVID. This came out a little bit late, but for virtual conferences, this is actually a really good thing. Because you lose with virtual conferences the hallway conversations, right? And if you're doing like maybe a virtual workshop, this could be a really great thing because you could have people from essentially all over the world occupying the same 3D space and working on like a workshop or project and being able to communicate in real time. And this is more personable than like a chat room or something. Believe it or not. So that's
I don't.
That is a thing. But yeah, I think that is all the links I have for the week. This is the little teaser I gave too. Like I've been testing some of this stuff out, John, and yeah, that's a .NET Maui Blazor application.
Yes, I know. Yes.
Running in the Oculus 3. And then I have a remote display connected to the Oculus as well, so I can dev on this app. So this is my coding window. I'm writing code here and running it in the Quest browser, or sorry, in the Quest as a native application. So this is getting compiled, APK deployed to the headset and running as an application in the headset. So what's nice about this, I have my dev workflow here. Like I have Visual Studio in the headset. I have the app that I'm running in the headset. I don't have to leave the headset. I don't have to like take it off, code, hit deploy, come back to the headset. That's not a thing. And if you have this connected, up through a cable, which I do, you can't see it in the photo, but there's a connector on the side of my laptop here. I can actually go into the browser on the desktop and live edit and view the HTML and stuff that's in the DOM inside of the Blazor hybrid application that's running inside the Quest, which is just bonkers that I am able to do that. So the workflow.
There was what
great.
just reminded me. You know what you just said that reminded me. In Firefox, there used to be a 3D DOM view. I think they may have taken that out of their dev tools. That'd be kind of cool to visualize that on a headset. So you could swim through the HTML DOM, the DOM that's generated.
That would be very, very interesting. I'd like to see that. But I think they did take that feature out.
This is all my fears and nightmares coming to fruition. I've dealt enough
works
with
well
the DOM,
though.
and now
works extremely well. The only downside I found to this so far is that Meta. So all of these Blazor hybrid apps, they run through what's called a web view. So there's a native Android shell around the application. Then inside of that shell, there is a web view. Yeah, so the web view's inside, and all your HTML and CSS and all that's running inside here. For some reason, the Quest browser that is actually shown over here, the Quest browser has WebXR enabled on it, so you can build AR experiences with this. So you could essentially have a button on here. You click on the button, and now I can see the room around me, but I can interact and like draw
Yep.
models and have physics and all of that inside of the web app that's basically taken over the headset as its operating system.
Yep, makes
For
sense.
some reason, Meta has disabled that in their web view. So I can run it in the browser, that's fine. I can actually PWA this as well. And I can deploy this as a native app, or not a native app, but basically it is. They basically do the same thing. They shell it, so they put an APK shell around it, and then they let you put it in the marketplace. That version of it has, I don't know if they probably don't use a web view in that, but that has WebXR. This does not have WebXR.
Yeah, it sounds to me like it was a design decision. They're like, not yet. We'll do it later. That's
my
best guess. They're just like,
So it's either build an application using one of the native technologies, like Unity, one of the 3D game engines that deploys to Android. That is fine. Or you can use their CLI to build a progressive web app. That is fine. But things like Maui and other web view stuff is a no-go right now. And my only speculation, and this is complete speculation, I have no proof or evidence whatsoever that this is the case, but those big vendors like Unity and Unreal and them, they have their own web views. And I'm wondering if there's a little agreement there.
Fighting.
Yeah, like, this is, if they are to support all of these features in a native web view, that opens the door to things like Maui and other frameworks to come in and kind of starts to cut into the business of these major.
I don't know if that. I think it's. Engines. I don't think it's. I wouldn't equate it to something evil. I would say it would that's not evil, but I would equate it more to just the developers saying, all right, not now. We'll do it later.
Yeah, it could just be like, they don't know if they can even support it. So right now, here's the way to do it. Could be anything. But I did notice there are web views you can buy from like some of the major 3D game engine vendors and run those. So we'll see. I'm still dabbling with things. It's still very early in the days of dev for this stuff. WebXR, finding to be pretty clunky. It's a moving target. It's a brand new spec, and it only does a limited number of things. So obviously it can draw like 3D VR environment stuff, but the AR stuff is a little sketchy yet. There's something it does called hit testing, and basically what does like surface detection. And so what I've seen so far is it will like detect like the ceiling and the floor and the walls, but if you have maybe a table in the room, it doesn't detect the tabletop. So like it's very like just broad. It's like very macro. It's like, okay, there's walls and a floor here. We'll let you augment those surfaces, but it might not detect some of the more detailed surfaces in the room. So early days for this stuff, John, but it's been a lot of fun to tinker with.
Okay.
I know you're super interested in hearing more about it.
I'll take your word for it, dude.
Yeah. So we could talk more after the show.
How about no? Not interested.
All right, John.
I know.
We'll catch some folks up next week, and then like I said, probably the next 2 weeks we'll be on the air, and then we'll have a break for the holidays. So we'll talk to everybody soon, and we'll see you around. Any last words, John?
No. Have a good week, everyone.
All right, take care.